Nice shirt.
Hey everybody, welcome to SketchUp Live. My name is Josh. This is my buddy Aaron.
Hey guys.
And it's kind of awkward. Out of all the shirts that we have, we both wore the same shirt today.
Well, I know I have more t-shirts. I don't know if you actually do or not, so
okay.
I'll take the responsibility for this one.
Okay. All right.
So you guys may have guessed, we're here to talk about 3D Basecamp, the best week of the year. That's the tagline I just made up right now. But in all seriousness, 3D Basecamp's coming up in September, and we have, as always, it's going to be the best 3D Basecamp ever. I'm excited about it. Are you going to go, Josh?
Yeah,
excited?
I'm going to be there, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll both be there. That's going to be a fun time. There's an amazing amount of content. And what we wanted to do today was talk about what it is you can see at 3D Basecamp. So we're going to meet some of the instructors today. We're going to talk about the content, the schedule, and really get you guys a flavor for what Basecamp's all about before September, and get you like a little appetizer, a little teaser.
Yes, there's a lot of reasons why Basecamp is fun and good to go to. We'll start by talking about the schedule a little bit and the program breakdown. Last year, or 2 years ago, 2016, we called 3D Bootcamp the 2 days before the Basecamp chunk started. We called it 3D Bootcamp. This year, we're not really going to call it that. It's just the first 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, out of that 5-day week, are going to be workshops, which is kind of what Bootcamp was last time. So for people that just want to come for those first 2 days, you'll have a bunch of workshops you can go to. And the reason that we have...
All hands-on. So workshop, when we say workshop, it's actually like you sit at your computer and do what the instructor says.
Yeah, so in contrast to a presentation where you're just sitting down and just kind of listening and kind of chilling out. So the workshops are good if you want to come to those first 2 days. You can learn a few things, and then when you go to presentations later in the week, you can kind of be set up to absorb that info a little bit better. That's kind of why we did that. You can also just go to the first 2 days, but we'll talk about more about the ticket types later. But just to kind of tell you about the first couple of days, it's more that training-intensive, hands-on part of the full week.
Opportunity to really learn, get dirty with SketchUp.
Oh, and speaking of that, we do have accreditations for the workshops and a lot of the sessions in general. So if you can see my screen here, we do have on our website, if you go to 3dbasecamp.sketchup.com and you go to the drop down here, program, there's a accreditation tab there. And you can see here we've got some drop downs that show you the different organizations that we have. So far we've got AIA, ID, CEC, APLD, AIBD, NAHB, and NKBA. We're also working on ASLA, so a lot of acronyms there.
Alphabet Soup Accreditation, good to go.
As we mentioned, the workshop versus presentation thing, we've got colors there. So if you click on one of those, you can see the teal color. I'm sure there's an exact name for that color, but we'll call it Palm Springs teal is workshop, and then that pink, flamingo pink color is presentation. So you can kind of see what's going on there for what sessions might give you accreditations or credits for certain things.
Right, so this is a big thing if you are a practicing professional and need those accreditation hours every year. This is a great place to come, learn more about SketchUp, hang out with people who love SketchUp, have a good time, and get those credit hours in. So definitely check it out if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
So normally when we do these Facebook Lives, we do a whole lot of hands-on and we're going to draw on that kind of stuff. We're still going to sprinkle a little bit of that into this session. Josh is going to show a little something right now and flash a little Basecamp artwork in our face, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so really we're just showing this stuff because we have some Basecamp graphics that we made, and what if you've got SketchUp and you want to show some stuff with some graphics inside? There's lots of ways you can do that. I just wanted to run through a SketchUp model here, just kind of play around with some options. So if I go back to my browser here and go to the Basecamp website, you can see we've got a graphic in the background there. So let's say we wanted to toss that into SketchUp. So if I go back into SketchUp here and I kind of zoom out a little bit, you can see that's just a PNG image just put into SketchUp. So file import, toss that in there. I have another scene here set up with another version of that graphic without the trees and the tent and the cacti. So maybe I want to use this a little bit differently. There's a little sun there as well. The next scene here, I basically exported the elements from Illustrator as separate little pieces to make them face me components. So if I zoom out, you can see they're kind of spinning around with the camera. If I move that background back a little bit, we can go 3 feet back there, and maybe there's a reason that you want to use a 2D graphic and have it always face the camera, kind of like the people that we have in SketchUp, the scale figures. Same idea. It's a scale figure that will turn and face the camera. So there might be a reason to use graphics that way.
It's kind of a cool recreation, like a 2.5D, semi 3D recreation of that splash page that we see on the website.
Yeah, 2.75D probably.
Doesn't work too great if you go to too far of an angle, though, it looks like.
No, so this really isn't, I'm not sure why, once I started modeling, I was like, I don't really know why I did that, but just wanted to see what it would look like. So let's say that you wanted to have sort of like a parallax effect where you've got the background further behind and maybe those mountains and things can be used a little more effectively. So you can actually draw geometry in SketchUp and put an image onto it. It's called an image globe or a panodome, or what did you call it earlier? Some kind of cylinder?
A panotube.
Panotube.
That's right.
So if I'll do
TM.
a zoom extents here, and you can see we've got actual geometry. So a cylinder, and we've applied an image onto that. So if I go to hidden geometry, you can see here it's not a lot of polygons, and it tiles across. And if I go back into this scene, and we start to kind of orbit, you can see there the background sort of looks like it might in real life, where it's actually far away from the geometry that where our camera is, but it's a little bit cooler look, I suppose, to that. And then you got face me components there as well. So we're starting to get, bring the 2D scene to life in SketchUp. And the sun there, I had to do that a little bit differently because the repeating hills or foothills and mountains couldn't have a sun. We'd have 12 or 24 suns. So I'll zoom in and show what I did there. So this, if I look down on it, you can see I used a circle to kind of cut away the geometry there. And if I go into, I'll show you one of these panels first. So right click on this one, texture position, you can see the image that I used, if we just kind of look up here, is just that seamless foothills and mountain scene. And where the sun is, if I go into that one and do a right click and go to texture position, this one just has the sun. So really all I did was I used
two versions of that same.
Yeah, this one has the sun in it. So if I look up above here, you can see that one has the sun. So I used line work in SketchUp to just constrain part of that pano tube so that I could apply that sun version of it and just crop it to where the sun is. And it doesn't look that great if I zoom out here. You can kind of see where that circle is. So if I took a little more time to get more careful with how I blended it, it would look pretty good.
But this is a cool option because you're not constrained about where you can look or how you can actually position your camera however you need to against those props.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit different. One of the things we've talked about before in the past is watermarks. Watermarks are great for throwing artwork in the back, but what happens is watermarks are almost like they're on your screen. So as you move around, the back doesn't move at all. It's completely stationary. So this is a nice option because you can actually move inside that scene and the background's going to move like it would if you're taking a picture in real life. It's very cool.
So the point here is just if you have good 2D graphic assets, there's a lot of ways you can use SketchUp to kind of change it up a little bit and utilize those. Aaron later on will show a little bit different way of dealing with 2D graphics that you may start from.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably start talking to some people. We have more guests than we've ever had on SketchUp Live before, so we're just going to start rolling through them.
Cool. Yeah. First guest, you may know him. His name is Mike Tadros, right here. Thanks, Mike.
Welcome to SketchUp Live.
Yeah. And
Pleasure.
you have a couple classes that you're going to be teaching at Basecamp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I understand it, there'll be 2 classes that I'll be teaching at Basecamp. One is about scenes. So, all kinds of good stuff having to do with scenes, scene properties, using scenes, not just for saving camera angles, but using scenes for doing all different kinds of things. Managing layer visibility, managing shadow settings. There's also some cool stuff you can do to animate things like section cuts using scenes, so we'll be digging into a lot of that in that class.
There's a lot more to scenes than people give scenes credit for.
This is true.
Yeah. It sounds simple, but yeah, you got to master scenes to really get SketchUp looking good.
I like scenes because they're also a great example of what I sometimes refer to as kind of SketchUp as a tool that's sometimes deceptively simple. Mm-hmm. So scenes are one of those things that's really easy to get started with. You go in, you add a scene, and for most folks, it's like, oh great, I saved a camera angle. But there is, to your point, a whole lot more that you can do with scenes. And once you really start mastering all the different options, it's sort of some next level stuff, right? It's SketchUp below the hood, below the surface. So that's what I really like about it.
Like that.
And this is a class I'm kind of dusting off from Basecamp 2016.
That's right.
Because the feedback from that class was great.
Very positive.
And so I'm looking forward to maybe getting a fresh crop of folks into
That'll be
this class this time around.
That'd be great. You were one of only, I think, only 2 or 3 classes are being repeated. So that's kind of a big deal. You're kind of a big deal.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you have another class with a pretty fun name.
Yeah, so this one, no offense, but this one is titled 10 Things I Hate About Your SketchUp Model.
A little bit of offense.
Maybe a little bit.
That makes me want to go. I want to know why.
It's like, it's not really 10 things I hate about your SketchUp model specifically, but...
Maybe one of your SketchUp models.
Yeah, but, and hate's a strong word. So maybe it's more like 10 things that I'm not super psyched about your SketchUp model, but...
But it's a good learning moment.
It's clickbait.
Yeah.
It is. The title's clickbait. So,
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to go over some of the common stuff. I spent a good amount of time in a past life working as a SketchUp consultant, and so I would see all sorts of SketchUp files come across my inbox with folks asking if I could help out or pitch in on a project, and it got to the point where 6, 7, 8 years into that part of my career, there were some things that it was just every time the file landed in the inbox, you'd crack it open and you'd be like, okay, this again, And so what this session is really aimed at is it's aimed at folks who are oftentimes working with colleagues, or they're working with other partners or consultants, or whatever the case may be, where you're sending files back and forth to each other to help you be the good guy in that scenario, or good girl in that scenario, where when that file gets sent across, when you're sending it especially, that the person receiving that file is going to be like, oh, now this is somebody who's got their SketchUp back together. So we're going to look at kind of a few common things that you can do to really just help facilitate a more collaborative kind of experience working with other folks and sharing files with each other.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Be the best SketchUpper you can be.
Something like that.
I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Do good, unto others. And who knows, maybe with all of the time that folks save collectively by not having to fix some of these same issues over and over and over again, that time will be spent contributing to the betterment of the world somehow. So there's some really, really lofty, aspirational targets for this session.
You guys heard it here. Basecamp is going to change the world for the better.
Basecamp, especially the folks who come in to sign up for my sessions.
Sorry, Mike Tadros is going to change the world for the better.
Well, not me. It's going to be the onus is going to be placed squarely on the shoulders of the folks who attend my sessions.
You're going to change the world for the better.
That's right. So sign up for my sessions, learn a bunch of stuff, and then just have the responsibility of making the world a better place.
No problem.
On your shoulders after we're done.
All right.
Sound good?
So check out the 3D Basecamp website and look for Mike Tadros as one of the speakers, and you can actually filter by him to see the classes he's going to be teaching.
All right, looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
See you guys. Thanks.
That's going to be great. There's going to be a ton of good stuff. I didn't know that we were going to actually aim to change the world with many classes, but now I'm looking forward to it.
I didn't either, but it sounds good.
Man, I'd hate to have to present after that. But up next, Chris Brazier from our EDU class is going to come in and tell us about something called EDU Ascent. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And I won't even hate anything about any of your models.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
So what is EDU Ascent?
Well, EDU Ascent is our educational competition. This is actually the second time we've run the Ascent. We did it at last Basecamp in 2016. This is where we invite educators, K-12 educators, and university students to go ahead and submit their best SketchUp work to us, and then we bring the top modelers to Basecamp. So it's open to all K-12 educators and all university students using SketchUp in their workflows.
And that's going on right now. Educators
right
and
now.
students can enter today.
If you go to our website, the Basecamp website, which I'm sure we'll be putting up here somewhere,
Absolutely.
you can actually click on the Ascent link and it'll tell you more about the competition.
Cool. Can you pull that up real quick?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's check that out. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it, and what we're going to be doing this year, a little different from last time. The teachers, the K-12 teachers who will be coming to Basecamp for this, will actually be presenting their work in a in a, what's the word for this?
Panel?
I want to say a panel format. Yeah, so we'll be able to talk about your inspiration, what you're doing with your project-based learning, how you're changing lives for students, essentially.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we got a theme.
Right? Yeah, making the world a better place.
That's great.
So where that was the website here, and then program.
Program
Ascent
Ascent competition. Yeah, this will tell you exactly how to enter, where you need to have your entries by the 30th of June. That's actually the last day that we're taking entries.
That's great. And so a group of entrants are actually going to get to come to Basecamp. Is that how that works?
That's how that works, yep. So what we'll be doing is taking the top 3 finalists from each of those 2 categories and flying them out to Basecamp, all expenses paid. Yeah,
cool.
and when you're there, you actually get a chance to win the top prize of a sweet $1,000. So
Nice.
All right.
add a little butter to that bread there for you. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you were an educator or a student, get on this now. Come hang
Competition's
out
for
at
you.
Basecamp. Yeah.
Looking forward to meeting y'all.
This is great. All
Great.
right. Anything else, or you covered all?
I think we got it covered. Yeah. If any questions, just let us know. There's a forum entry for the EDU Ascent competition as well. Any competition questions, we'll get them answered.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Chris.
Thanks so much.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's a great way to get to Basecamp, especially if you're a student.
it is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, we got another friend cruising over here. His name is Tyson Karchner,
Another
And-
presenter at Basecamp
Yeah.
this year.
and
Lost.
I'll pull up a SketchUp model here.
How's it going, Tyson?
You know, it was going great until about 5 minutes ago when I overheard Mike Tadros say that he was going to change the world.
It's pretty steep. That's yeah.
And since I'm presenting at Basecamp, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to slink away and cry or if I'm supposed to like rise to the occasion and change the world more.
no
He
crying
did
at
set the
Basecamp.
bar pretty high,
Can't cry.
except for the last day.
Oh.
Farewell lunch, a
Okay.
few tears normally. But
Then it's okay to cry.
yeah, that's right. So you're gonna actually show us some of the stuff you're maybe gonna be touching on during one of your classes. So first off, you have a handful of classes.
I have been told.
Yeah.
I've been told I have 2 or 3 or more classes. We're going to be touching on a couple things, and the stuff we're going to cover right now is just sort of like a hint of components, and we're going to do a whole class on how you might use components to your advantage and the advantage of that.
That's another thing, kind of like scenes where making components real simple, but actually using them to their full abilities is a little deeper.
Yeah. I think a lot of people know about components, but we're going to try to dive really deep into that.
That's great. So that's one class. What else? You're even you're part of a special 2-part presentation, if I recall correctly. It's going to be the best.
Well, are you
presentation.
talking about like trying to follow up on your amazing?
Oh, Tyson.
So Aaron is going to be doing something about organic modeling, and he will probably just knock it out of the park. And then I'm just like coming in and batting cleanup and being like, okay,
no,
doing my best to.
I'm the opening band. I'm the guys you never heard of before, and then Tyson's going to come up on the main stage, lights blaring, pyrotechnics probably. I don't know, but yeah. So there'll be a 2-part organic modeling sessions that are going to be pretty sweet for anybody. I mean, that's only be a little advanced.
Yeah,
But it'll be pretty cool.
I think so. And
You're doing what kind of shapes? Fantastic shapes?
Fantastic, creating fantastic shapes.
fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
let's-
I think we're focused on a little bit different techniques,
Yeah,
so that'll
absolutely.
be good.
So it's not going to be overlap. It's going to be different tools. If you have to do any sort of organic modeling, there'll be a couple of great sessions to visit.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's just kind of cool to know SketchUp can do these kind of things. Even if you have no reason to model these crazy shapes, it's nice to know what it can do, because if you have a project that might use them in the future, you at least know, okay, SketchUp has the ability to do some pretty cool stuff.
Right.
But yeah, you want to take
So it looks like you're going to show us a little
computer
bit of your component stuff.
Okay, so if you are, if you're completely new to SketchUp, or at least relatively new, what we're going to sort of touch on is getting into this idea that components are really a way to just build in a ton of efficiency into your model, because you can build these objects that are going to repeat, and so you can just create a lot of functionality and efficiency. So if we take this simple shelter here and say, okay, we're going to make some changes to it, and and this is sort of the basics of components. So we'll touch on this, of how you can come in and say, okay, we wanted to change something like that. And now all those changes are shown throughout the model. But if you really get into components, you gents know that a term called component nesting is really important, and that is where you're taking components and you're basically organizing them by embedding them within each other. And the interesting thing about component nesting is that I probably have a different method than does Josh, than does Aaron, and it varies based on kind of the project you're doing and
sure.
Almost your personality.
Psychological analysis via SketchUp component. I like it.
Yeah. So not showing that here, but I think we'll get a little bit into how different people will sort of talk about some different strategies of component nesting, and there's some people who advocate all components all the time, don't ever really use groups, and there's some people who use groups and components in combination with each other, and so we'll explore some of those. I think another thing we'll talk about is, so for example, if I'm making some changes here, so I've got this is all a component, but if I wanted to, let's say, move this up, we'll talk about some strategies where we could say, okay, yeah, we're gonna move this up, and I'm being a little bit imprecise here. And that's happening throughout. But what you'll notice is that I actually, so let me undo that for a moment. I broke this apart because I wanted to maintain that this is still a component, and I could still come in and just make some changes here. Let's say, Josh, where's my large tool set?
Tyson is using Josh's computer right now, so if you use SketchUp, you know customizing it to your workflow is a very important part of using SketchUp, and a very big trial when you have to use somebody else's computer.
And I was warned vehemently that Josh would toilet paper my desk if I changed any of his shortcuts, so I'm trying to...
No, you can.
So let me get in here, we'll make a quick change and say, okay, cut this away, like we're gonna put a light in here or something, whatever it might be. And that's happening to each of these. But up here, we still have sort of different heights going on. And this won't work in all component instances, but there's cases where you can sort of maintain this nature that these are components, and we've hidden that we sort of have joined this. It looks like one pillar, but it's actually different elements, so that we can maintain some elements of the components while still getting editability in here. So doing something like this, and then we can come in and we have hidden our edges so that they merged above, so we can view the hidden geometry. And then we can select that and move that up. So tips, little things like this, when we turn that hidden geometry back off, you cannot tell.
Very cool.
Things like this. So we're just going to go over a number of different elements around components, making things unique. You could take these two elements, say we're going to make these unique here. So there's a lot of things you can do with components, a lot of things you can do with the nesting. So now we can delete that, but we still have all these pillars and components. So just different ways to work with your geometry and build efficiency into your model.
There's so much more. There's scaling them on the outside as opposed to the inside. That's a big difference in components. And then the outliner, of course, could be a pretty cool thing to cover, because people don't discover the outliner that often on their own, but when they see what it can do, you start to realize it's pretty cool to take a look at the outliner, and with components, that's actually pretty important.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be a good class.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We're definitely looking forward. Basecamp, best Basecamp, best
Ever.
week ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's it. Awesome.
All right, thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Tyson.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked a lot about the hands-on classes, workshops. One of the other things we have a lot of are the presentations. And these are, like Josh said, it's where you get to sit back and just absorb. You don't have to actually click a mouse or anything like that. You can just listen. This content is by far bigger and better than we've ever had before. I don't even remember the full count of classes. It's over 100 presentations and workshops. But here to talk more about what that content includes is Mark Harrison.
Hey guys.
Hey, Mark.
How's it going?
Hey,
everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty excited about 3D Basecamp.
You think we should just head down there now? I'm kind of.
My car is pretty much packed. I've been packed for a few months now.
There's
See
lots
you
of
guys in
setup you need to
September.
do, so.
Well, I do want to rewind. It's not the best week of the year. It's the best SketchUp week of the year. Easy, hands down. I also want to rewind to the point that Josh made before about the training that happens before the event. That training actually also happens during the 3-day part of the event as well. So you can buy a 2-day ticket on Monday and Tuesday, and that's training focused, training intensive. Or you could buy a 3-day ticket and come on Wednesday and take training at the beginning of the event. And then you just hang out and also do presentations during that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday event. And the training, actually, Josh has worked really hard on the training program. It's kind of crucial. I mean, we meet so many people who actually know SketchUp pretty well, but they never really learned it. So one of the best courses we have on the agenda for 3D Basecamp is SketchUp 201. It's actually a beginner course for SketchUp for people that already kind of know SketchUp. So if you ever felt like you kind of just need to spend some time learning SketchUp again, that's a great session to go to. But maybe we could switch over to the agenda and take a look at what's actually going to be happening at 3D Basecamp.
And on that point, most people do, in the back of their minds, they kind of know that they skipped over some stuff. So this is a great class to just make yourself feel better. You take one of our beginner classes and you're going to leave just ready to roll.
And the great thing is whatever choice you decide to make for 3D Basecamp, if you come for Monday and Tuesday, if you come for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can start with training. So you can take 6 hours of training for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday event, or you can buy the full access pass, which is Monday through Friday. In fact, that's the most popular ticket we have right now. But let's pick up the event on Wednesday. We're taking a look at the agenda here. If you go to 3dbasecamp.sketchup.com, hit the program button, you can actually go through the whole agenda. If you scroll up to the top, Josh, you can actually even sort through the agenda by different topics. So if you're interested in, if you go to tracks there, you could scroll down to tracks and take a look at just the tracks for architecture, just the tracks for landscape architecture, planning, woodworking, digital fabrication. So we have a little bit of something for everybody in this event. But if we start, when the event, when the 3D Basecamp part of the event kicks off on Wednesday, we get right into it with a keynote. And this year we're inviting and welcoming Grant Imahara of Mythbusters to 3D Basecamp. We're really excited about this. Grant is a roboticist. He is a electronics expert. He's worked on Star Wars, The Matrix, obviously Mythbusters. So definitely a SketchUp kind of guy. We're excited to bring him to 3D Basecamp. I'm going to see if I can speed talk through this agenda. There's so many things in it. Liam Keating, frequent contributor to the SketchUp forums. He's a graphic designer and illustrator who works for Volvo, does amazing things in SketchUp, and some of the stuff he does has nothing to do with Volvo. So Robots versus Dinosaurs, one of the best presentation titles that we have at 3D Basecamp. Let's see here, SketchUp at all scales of city planning. These are the guys from Haziel Levine in Chicago, at the top of their game when it comes to urban planning. If you are a planner, you need to talk to these guys. And then there's so much more. So we've got Daniel Tall, 3D Basecamp stalwart, Chris Rosenwarney, concept artist who's worked on James Bond, Star Wars. You can learn Ruby scripting at 3D Basecamp. You can learn to animate at 3D Basecamp. Interior design. If you are an interior designer, you have to come to this Basecamp. We have Bonnie Roskis, Tammy Cody. We'll teach you everything from little quick tips and tricks that you can learn in an hour to a full dedicated day of interior design focused training. Eric Schimmelfettig will be talking CNC. We have Jeremy Kay back talking about ArcViz in a VR world. If you're curious about where VR might be going in 2018, 2019, 2020, we have a bunch of people, a bunch of different companies and sponsors even, who are going to be looking at the trends that we're seeing with architectural visualization and VR storytelling. So I think we're going to be literally jumping into some pretty cool stuff at 3D Basecamp.
It is going to be very, very cool.
I will be teaching a class on non-dominant hand 3D modeling at 3D Basecamp, maybe. It keeps going. I can really talk about everything, but I would definitely recommend go to 3dbasecamp.sketchup.com, check out the program. I think you'll agree it is the best SketchUp week that you could have this year. I hope you'll spend it with us in Palm Springs.
It's exciting.
And yeah, I hope you guys can take the time off of work to go do it. Convince your managers, if you have a job that you use SketchUp for, this is worth it. It's
Yeah.
worth some time away from work to level up your skills.
It is something we talk about. We talk about how much fun it is because it is fun. It's cool to hang out with SketchUp lovers and talk about SketchUp and get SketchUp-y, but it's actually incredibly useful if you use SketchUp in any way at work. It is a way to just take your productivity and your abilities to the next level. So it is a justifiable work expense as well.
Man, thank you guys for having me on Facebook Live.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. That was cool.
We
So-
have someone else. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, speaking of fun,
Oh, yeah. We have Party Jess here.
Hello, I'm Party Jess. I'm going to be one of the social butterflies at the event. There will be many of us making sure everyone's having a good time and being social. Our first social event is going to be on Tuesday. It's the Trail Mixer from 4 to 6. That's going to have yard games. It's going to be a camp theme. So definitely feel free to come, lounge a little, play some cornhole, have a drink, and enjoy and just start to meet people around the party.
right, that event is the one that kind of falls right between the training of the first 2 days
Right.
and the kickoff of the 3-day event on
Correct.
Wednesday.
And you can come if you did the first 2 days, or if you're just coming for the 3 days or the 5 days. Everyone's welcome. So make sure to come. It's going to be held kind of right by registration, so you'll definitely see us. And you'll be able to start the party and the social excitement. The next party is going to be on Wednesday. This is the big party. This is Desert Glow Party in the Palms. So hence the theme glow. There will be glowing aspects. I don't want to give away too many surprises, but it's going to be an amazing party. If you've been to base camps in the past, this is going to blow it out of the water. So just be mentally prepared for the fun. It's there to create kind of inspire creativity. We're gonna have again the as I can't say SketchUp.
It's live. It's supposed
shootout.
to happen.
We're gonna have the SketchUp shootout. So if that's something you've been looking forward to from last time, feel free to come to that. If that's something new for you guys, it's kind of like SketchUp Pictionary, where you have to model in 3D super quick, so you can really show off your skills and maybe, challenge Josh or Aaron to see who's the best at SketchUp.
And each base camp, we've done a new iteration of it because it always seems to change. So
It changes.
it'll be different this time.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Also, feel free to keep it casual at this party. You can kind of wear whatever you want to. Feel free to wear a tropical shirt or something Palm Springy, however you interpret that, whether it be flamingos or, I don't know, plaid.
Hey. Sounds nice.
Something in those turquoisey colors, something like that. So definitely come ready to be social, have a good time, and come party with us.
And
So,
find
yeah.
Jess. She likes
And find
talking to
me.
people. So
I do like to talk to people.
if you have a question about any of this stuff, find Jess.
You can find me. We can answer all your questions and get ready to have fun.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Yeah.
In case you didn't catch it, Jess is an introvert, and it really took a lot of prodding
Yeah.
to get her to come out of her shell and talk in front of the camera. All right. Last thing we're going to look at is we got to get a little bit more SketchUp in here. We've been talking a lot, but we got to show some SketchUp. Got to get some SketchUp time on the screen. So one of the things we're going to look at right now is Josh mentioned using 2D graphics. And she did a great job of showing how set that background. We've talked about face me's in the past. One of the questions we get a lot of is I have an image, a graphic of some sort, and I want to change into a 3D model. So we have a couple options to look at right there. So I'm just going to kind of buzz through a couple of things we could possibly do with some graphics. So first thing I'm going to look at is, and this will seem familiar, I can go to File, and I can say Import. I'm going to hop onto my desktop and import just a graphic, just an image. So this is how Josh actually went about, whoops, missed it. This is how Josh went about importing his graphics, is I can just pull these in.
And a little bit of background about why you might do this. There's a lot of reasons that you might want to start doing this in SketchUp. One could be you're working in an office where you have graphic assets from another colleague, and perhaps you need to use that to make a 3D model. And I didn't show any conversion of the graphic to line work, but it happens a lot where you need to take that and start to create a 3D model from it, or use the line work and not just the pixels, basically.
Right. Absolutely. So this is great. This was created by our design team for the event. Awesome looking graphics. I could take this, make it into a face me component like Josh did, but when you get down to it, it's still an image. So you can still see it gets kind of fuzzy. If I zoom in far enough, I got some pixelated corners, that kind of thing. So there are situations where I may want to turn this into an actual model inside of SketchUp. So we're going to look at some different options there. I'm going to grab these guys and just scoot them over and bring some more in. So another option, of course, is, well, actually, before we even go any further, I could come into this image right here, and I could grab my line tool, and I could start drawing, switch to arc, put an arc there, back to line, and I could actually work around and actually trace this thing, just like we've done with the Face Me videos. We've done this actually a couple different times. We've got skill builders on this. We did a live session on this. So I'm not going to go and do that again. I'm going to look at some different options for getting this model, or getting this geometry into the model. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to import. Another option is to take those files. In this specific case, these files started out as Illustrator files. So they were vector-based files to begin with. So what I did was I was able to open those Illustrator files, and inside Illustrator, I was able to actually export DXF files. So if I come up here into SketchUp, I can import DXF files. A lot of times we think about DXF files as like CAD plans, which is what they are. DXF, DWG files come out of AutoCAD, and I can bring those in.
Pretty common language for 3D modeling software and
exactly
2D and interoperability.
But people don't think about it, but it's actually just as easy to import those from something like a line drawing software. So something like an Illustrator vector art, I can actually pull that in, and those lines come right in. Those lines now are just SketchUp lines. So if I come in here, trace an edge, and go like that, there we go. I now have geometry that I can push, pull, or do whatever I need to make that into a 3D model. You can see that came in a little bit small. This came in at actual size. So this was the size that the actual file was created. So that would fit on, you know, an 8.5 by 11. I think the model is actually about that big. So that's why it's so tiny right there. We'll look at one more option. I'm just going to keep piling my options up back over there. My next one, I'm going to actually use an extension for. This is an extension that takes advantage of using those actual graphic files, the bitmap files. It's kind of a weird extension in that it's not an extension warehouse or plugin store. We'll actually put a link to it in the comments below. It's the Spirix BMP Tracer. So if I click on this, real simple extension, what it's going to do is it's going to grab a bitmap file, it's going to import it, and it's going to trace any color that I specify. So right here it's asking me what color you're looking for, and I put in the RGB values for the gray outline of the cactus.
Can you name that again so people, if they're looking for it, can find
Yeah,
it?
it's the Spirix BMP Tracer. And like I said, we'll link to it. You can actually go, we'll put a link where you just click on it and you'll download the RBZ file right away. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and tell it what file do I want to pick. Back to my desktop, and I'm going to grab the BMP. I'm actually going to, I'll just pick that BMP file, click Open, and what it's going to do, we got some scale issues again, is actually look at that file, so this file that I had right here, and go through and basically outline just that gray color. So this gray color looks like it's black, but it's actually a dark gray color around the cactus. All of that then gets traced and turned into a couple of groups. So this is really cool because this is a great way to, if you have, especially if you're doing something like, whoa, that's a big cactus. If you have something like logos or text or something like that you want to bring in and make into 3D assets, this is a great way to just pull them in. If you have the ability to simplify the file beforehand, of course, it's going to be even easier. So if I can cut it down to just what I want to import, and I can pull the RBG value out of there in an image editor or anything like that, you can just, in a button click, have that geometry. And then, of course, at this point, is just SketchUp geometry. So I can explode that, and then I can come in here and color it or push pull however I want to, whatever I want to do to make that into a 3D asset. Pretty cool, big time saver if that's ever a situation you're in.
And in some cases, just tracing it is actually is a good effective. Like, this is a pretty simple, thing, this cactus. So don't forget that sometimes tracing it's faster than you think. But of course, lots of things you want to get a bit of a shortcut and get that line work.
Yeah.
Start from there.
It depends how it's going to be used too. If it's a little image off in the corner, probably don't want to spend a bunch of time on it. If it's a big hero image, it's going to fill my whole screen. I may want to actually get my hands dirty and start modeling.
Yeah.
Cool. So we do have a couple more things to point out. If you are coming to 3D Basecamp, we have not just awesome parties, not awesome content, you're actually going to get some free stuff. We can't tell you exactly what stuff you're going to get, but there's some really cool stuff that you're going to get there. It's one of a kind. It's going to be awesome. You're going to want it. I guarantee it. You'll be happy that you came just for the stuff and the learning. Learning and the stuff.
Plural stuff.
That's right.
More than one stuff.
Another thing to check out, if you haven't already, we do have a podcast we just launched a couple weeks ago, SketchUp Talk. Our podcast up until Basecamp is going to be interviews with people who are actually presenting at 3D Basecamp. So we're getting a bunch of different Daniel Tall, Eric Schemmelfinnig, Dave Richards, a whole bunch of people. Everybody on there is going to be a presenter, so definitely check it out, take a listen. It's a great way to take SketchUp with you when you're not sitting at your computer and just soak up some more SketchUp knowledge. And the last thing is, if you've been on the fence about whether or not you're going to go to Basecamp, now's the time to buy. We're coming up July 1st, we're going to actually have a price increase of tickets. So the 3-day tickets, the Basecamp only tickets, are going to go up by $100 each. The full week tickets are going to go up $200 each. So now is the time, now before July 1st, you want to get in there and get your ticket to get it at the current reduced price. So hopefully do that. Hopefully we see you at Basecamp. We're excited, really excited for this.
Yeah, and also if you're new to Basecamp stuff from just hearing it today, go to our blog and search for 3D Basecamp. There's a lot of cool stuff that we've had over the years, some videos, and it'll be good to watch at least last year's video, get a feel for what SketchUp Basecamp was back then and how 3D Basecamp has kind of evolved. So yeah, go to our blog and do a search for that.
And if you have any questions right now, you got a few minutes, go ahead and send them to us. We'll
please
try to
ask
answer
questions.
This.
Yeah.
While we're waiting on those questions to come in, did want to let you know, we recently had a design competition, CNC Golf, where people could design their own miniature golf holes, and the top 6 we picked are going to get built and shipped to 3D Basecamp where people can actually play on them. We did have one grand prize winner. We were supposed to announce this last week. What we wanted to do was we actually wanted to build the hole so we could present it and it would be all dramatic and wow, how cool is that? Unfortunately, the material we ordered was on back order, we didn't get it, and then all of a sudden it was a 3-day weekend. So we're doing it now instead, live. So the big winner was Palm Springs Mini Golf by Benjamin Z. So Benjamin Z, you won. Congratulations, first and foremost. And you get a pass to 3D Basecamp. So not only will you get to have your hole built, you get to come and actually play on it on our dime. That's great.
Nice.
So yeah.
That was a good one. I like the cohesive theme there, getting the Palm Springs, our brand colors in there.
Yeah, it was a very cool. Well, I mean, they were all great.
Yeah.
It was hard. I don't know. It was actually a pretty tight race. We did not have anybody like absolutely winning. It was votes right down at the end that actually won it.
I think they were all better than the ones we did live.
Oh, no question. we wouldn't even have made it anywhere near the top of that, for sure. Did we get any questions? No?
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm teaching a class as well. I'm teaching the beginner class, a complete intro, on Wednesday. It's actually into 2 days, so it's a full day class, but it's broken up into the end of Wednesday and the morning on Thursday. So if you are pretty new to SketchUp, that's a good class to come into because we're going to start from basically nothing.
That's awesome.
And learn how to do as much as we can in that full, it's like 6 hours, I think, of time.
That's a lot of absorption time.
Yeah, please learn some SketchUp in my class.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, and like Tyson mentioned, I have an organic modeling class. It'll be cool to see. If you don't want to do it hands-on, that's fine. There's actually a presentation version of it too, where you just get the concepts of organic modeling inside of SketchUp. And I'm also going to be leading a panel of extension developers, that's going to be fun. I'm not an extension developer myself, so I'm excited to learn about that. Why, how, what extension developers are. That's going to be good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all the classes are good, so.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. Yeah.
All right, well, if we don't have questions, then I think we are ready to wrap.
Alrighty.
All right.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.